Coming to you live from an alarmingly warm, but also windy and full of dead leaves, radioactive wasteland. We're the survivors of the alt-right Keck apocalypse. Once more, the few, the brave, the bitchy. I keep forgetting that one. The few, the brave, the bitchy. Once more wading into battle against the lonely, froggy, lobstery zombie hordes with Rantzerker number 183. Ha! Lonely
Man.
It was 187, yeah. Allison. It was 187.
No,
187. What part of 187 didn't you hear?
Oh, it's 183, Alice.
You're
trying to throw me off?
Yeah, she's trying to be the fly in the ointment, is what she's trying to do here.
I'm just interrupting the intro.
So. Yeah, it has to be.
I think not!
Alright. It is 183. Lonely Men Just Hate Women, Part 2, plus an article. I figured we could frame the discourse of these lovely ladies with something that actually comes from men. So a article was a little bit sympathetic, actually talking to men about what they're experiencing and what they feel, rather than just listening to these these sweethearts tell us all what men are and do and be, and project a lot. So I figured, to give it a bit of context, let's listen to men's side before we go back into what we've been doing so far. And before we do that, which is listen to a bunch of women on TikTok talk about lonely men. Yeah, it's been real. I love that groan. We need some German Shepherd groaning, because they can tell a whole novel in one single groan that goes on for about 10-15 seconds. Yeah. Okay, all right. But before we get into it, I will do the things. If you would like to send us a message at any point during the show, or even after, because you guys seem to like to do that too, give us a tip, because I know you're all around the world, so you watch this at all different times. But if you're enjoying the show afterwards, you can also send us a message. If you're enjoying it right now, you can send us a message and we'll read it live on air at feedthebadger.com/justthetip. We get the full benefit of whatever funds you send, and you get the benefit of having a little bit longer to expand on your strange and esoteric thoughts that will make us scratch our heads. And you get the benefit of not having to put those esoteric thoughts through YouTube's very twitchy censorship algorithm. So once again, go to feedthebadger.com/justthetip to send us a message, and we will read it out. If you send it after the show, we'll read it out the next appropriate show.
Okay.
And also, I would like to do a shout out to our fundraiser, or the current fundraiser, feedthebadger.com/support, in which I'm canvassing for funds to get myself a new laptop. There's one patron who wants to also send the old one in and play the wheel of the wheel of roulette. And when you get the people who say they're going to fix it, they say, okay, we'll send it in. We'll see if we can fix it. You can pay this much. You'll still have to pay it even if we don't fix it. That kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But I do have one patron who wants to send it in. So if you're interested in helping him afford that, you can put in. But we are at our goal, so I probably should do some thank yous. Thank you to Machine for $500.
Whoa! Thank you. Okay. Who else?
Okay. I'm attempting to thank the next person, but I have no freaking clue how to pronounce their name.
Spell it. Run it through
Monodinigrin. Monodinigrin.
Okay.
Monodygrin. MONODY grin. Or $100. That is definitely something that is baffling a bit.
How much?
That is.
Wait. Let me see if it goes through the. Let me see what he's gonna. That is. Oh, Iggy Thunders.
Yeah, I got
Hopefully,
one from Iggy Thunders.
Yeah. That was from Iggy Thunders. $100 from the Iggy Thunders.
Oh.
So,
thank you. Come again.
Yeah. All right, and I think there's another one. $50 from Laux.
My spoon is too big.
And $15 from. No, that's a super chow.
Okay.
Okay. All right. And then of course the $1,000 from Richard Beer. So thank you to Richard, who also apparently wants me to dress up like a red Lufta.
Richard likes the John Cena sound, so I'll play that for him.
And
Yeah.
his name is John Cena.
Do you remember that woman with the crystal on her head during the Jubilee, the anti-feminist women versus feminist men?
Right, yeah, with
The one who was basically in like some kind of, I don't know, she looked like she slipped into a gigantic red Lufta.
Yeah, she looked like she would be in the poverty wing of the Met Gala.
What's a lufta?
What's the poverty wing of the Met Gala?
I made it up. It's like basically she was wearing some like pretentious plastic outfit and looked like she could have gone to like out to the gala, but it's not as crazy and wild as what the people at the Met Gala actually wear. So she would probably work there.
Oh, low rent Met Gala.
Yeah,
okay.
low rent Met Gala, right?
Okay, I gotcha.
Okay,
Alright.
but what is a lufta?
A lufta is like this sort of like frilly object that you put your body wash on and you squish it.
No, that's a loofah.
Loofah, okay. Loofah. Okay, all right. I put a T in there when I shouldn't have.
What the hell is wrong with you, Allison?
I don't know, I like tea.
You're like my husband. He mispronounces words all the time. The crux of the issue. No, it's the crux. It's the crux of the issue.
What if you
There's
like
no
crust?
tea.
What if you like crust?
No, he doesn't say crust of the issue. He says crux of the issue.
Yeah, but you like crux and crust. So you put
No,
the
he
two
doesn't
together.
like crust. Crust would kill him.
Okay.
At least bread crust.
Okay, let's do the article. So this is the article actually
okay.
talking to men about what they're feeling.
Oh, we're doing that first, the
Oh.
article? Okay.
Yeah, let's do that first. Let's get it over with.
all right.
Otherwise, we might never get to it, you know?
Yep. Okay, I
You see
have
my
it up.
logic?
I have it up on
Okay.
the screen.
Okay, I'm going into the screen. Gotcha.
Well, you don't have to look at it. I mean, you can just read it from the article, and I can leave it on the photo if you guys want. Right? I mean,
Yeah.
okay.
Now, I will say one thing. This author insists, like, she has another article in which she don't want to blame, or she's caping for feminism. I'm like,
Of course,
why you
yeah.
gotta do that?
It's
Why you
always-
gotta do that?
Yeah, it's always the case, right? Well, you know, I mean, I did a lot of bad stuff, but let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater, people. I mean,
What's the baby?
It's got to be useful somewhere, like society. No, I don't know. I mean, yeah, basically.
No, but
What's the
how,
baby?
yeah, no. How about we throw the abortion out with the bathwater?
Yeah, how about that?
Okay. All right, let's go. Let's do this.
Yep. Oh, you want me to read it?
Oh, I can't read it.
Okay,
Do you
I'll
want
read
me
it.
to read
I'll
it?
read it. No, I'll read it. I'll read it. The dating
Alright.
pool dropouts. Young men today feel they must be 6 feet tall, make 6 figures, and have 6 inches downstairs to get a girlfriend. So many have given up trying. By Olivia Reingold. I'll skip this bit. Okay. Are you religious? The question made Jamal squirm. The answer was no, but he could tell his date wanted it to be yes. And after the hour-long drive to get here, to a Caribbean restaurant in Orlando, Florida, he could tell it wasn't working. I think we should just be friends, the 36-year-old security guard remembers telling the girl he had dinner with last month after they met on Facebook. That was his first date in 3 years. He says he once went 6 months without getting a single match on a dating app, even though he pays $30 in monthly fees between OkCupid, Bumble, and Hinge. If you count high school, when he went to the movies with a classmate, Jamal says he's been on a total of 3 dates his entire life.
Oh,
What?
oh, that
Yeah. Rough.
that sucks.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a dark. That's what we call it, a dry spell. And now, driving home from his date, it hit him like a ton of bricks. Why do I even do this at all? He walked into his apartment near Cape Canaveral, greeted the cats, and slumped down on his couch. I'm so far out of the loop, he told me he realized at the time. Compared to my peers who have gone out with women and know how to interact with them, I'm too far gone. I can't learn that stuff.
Oh, stop you right there, Jamal. Actually, you have a very distorted opinion of your peers, because I believe that most men are now in your
Most
situation.
men your age, yeah.
Most men your age are in your situation. And honestly, I think it is something. I don't know what the frick happened to women, but it's almost like around 2007 they stopped enjoying sex. Because I'm pretty sure before then, you when you went to high school, you couldn't stop them. You know what I mean? And I'm looking at this from like the point of view of an adult. When I was a kid, I was just the weird kid that never really got into anything. But but like all around you, like they're horny teenagers. Then something happened.
Soy?
I
Are you
don't know.
talking about the men or the women?
I'm talking about the women, Karen, not the men.
Yeah, no. You think soy doesn't affect women too?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Like and petrochemicals like bisphenol A and phthalates. You think that endocrine disruptors don't also affect women?
Of course.
Oh yeah, you're right. There's probably a heck of a lot of estrogen dominance going on, which explains a lot.
Yeah, no. All the women now have lesbian bed death, not just the lesbians.
Yeah, but it's like honestly, that's it's, and I'm not surprised because I've talked about this a lot for how many years now, but it's like women today just do not like men. Period.
Yeah. I think that's really what it is. I think that they
just don't like men. Like in general, they don't like men.
Yep.
And it's bizarre because, I grew up in a time where, you didn't like maybe specific men or types of behavior that men engaged in, but it seemed like women still liked men to a degree.
Well, what I find interesting is, because I am seeing more of this, my own daughter is in this category of just like, well, if she could have babies, but like just bypass that whole sex thing, she would be like totally content, right? Loves babies. Really like the sex thing is just like it's vaguely gross, right? And let me just give you a story of 2 pills, okay? So I went on this high prostaglandin pill, right? Okay, so it was a high male hormone pill, progesterone pill.
Okay, yeah, progesterone I've taken before, and
yeah. I was on a high progesterone birth control pill, and it gave me such chronic, flaming fucking yeast infections, right? That I couldn't have sex. So it worked. It was an effective contraceptive, right? So then I went on a low progesterone pill that was just estrogen, right? And the idea of even swapping spit, even kissing with tongues, grossed me out, right? Like it just, the whole idea of sex grossed me out to the point where I was just like, no, not gonna do it, right? So this idea that all of these environmental estrogens aren't causing some kind of effect on women too, and including the estrogens that they take in order to protect themselves from unwanted pregnancies that they'll never have because they don't want to have sex. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's having an effect.
When I was on that high progesterone pill, I wanted sex all the time. I just couldn't have it. I was just like, oh, fuck, yeah, sign me up. And then it was like, ow, 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 no. Right?
Yeah. That sucks.
Yeah. And so it's just like the more environmental estrogens you put in the water, right, and in the food that are leaching out of plastic packaging into your food and all of that, right, the more you have a situation where women don't have a sex drive. Men don't have testosterone. Women don't have progesterone. right?
Mm.
All of their progesterone and testosterone receptors are occupied by male hormone receptor squatters, right? These endocrine disruptors that basically are like, yeah, now you have no sex drive. Now you have low testosterone levels. You're the try guys, right? You know, like the one of you of the five of you who test sized for testosterone levels is the equivalent of an 80-year-old man in today's society, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So I mean, like, there's some other shit going on here. It's not just about women hating men. That doesn't help. But
Oh yeah,
you know,
no, there's definitely like there's definitely environmental factors. I would also say that, and maybe that's contributing to the whole narrative of disliking masculinity, which, well, we've never had less of it. So
because masculinity, it's like, oh, well, masculinity, they're trying to push me to have sex, and it just grosses me out, right?
that's a weird attitude. Okay, but anyway, I guess
It's a
it
weird
is
attitude for you, and it's a weird attitude for me. But I know from my experience with those two birth control formulations that one of them killed my libido, just absolutely killed it, and it was the one that had no progesterone. It was just all estrogen.
Yeah, and like I said, that could be a contributing factor. This whole narrative could be a contributing factor, but I love our society's response to it. You know, human beings have ceased to reproduce, and reproduction is more than, it's not just making babies. The whole gamut of social behaviors around reproduction makes societies. Okay? That's where our future lies. Our society has just decided to stop doing that, and we're all like, we all are like, well, if we talk about it, we might end up blaming women, or not even blaming, but just saying, hey, maybe women have this responsibility that they could take these changes that they could evince. Like, why would you want to exist your whole life not having any influence over the world around you? But apparently we're there. That's misogyny.
Yeah, well, and if you don't have kids, right, why would you care about the future?
Because you can be a humanist who cares about other people.
Well, yeah, but then they twist that into like climate alarmism and
I don't have kids. I care about the future.
Extinction Rebellion and stuff like that, right? Like it's like they'll take that and they'll twist it into, well, you don't want to have kids anyway because they're going to destroy the planet. If you have kids, they destroy the planet. It's just. I
don't have kids. Brian doesn't have kids. I think that we are two people who care very much about the future of the human race. You know, it's
well, but they twist that care into like, well, you shouldn't have kids.
Yeah, but I don't think that's what happened with either of us. Sorry to bring you into this, Brian, but
I think that Karen's got a point. I mean, for me, it wasn't a choice. I got cancer and I can't. So, but I want to.
I'm talking about Gen Zers here.
Yeah.
Right?
The
and
people who are
millennials.
The people who are being essentially
propagandized
away from it.
I do have a thank you, but I don't know if you're done with this particular.
Yeah, no, I think I've said my piece, but I do think that like looking at hormone levels is
yeah, no, I agree. I also think that
nobody wants
narrative,
to touch it.
Yeah,
nobody does, and I think that the narrative that we exist, this society it seems to be pushing out into the ether like some horrendous messenger freaking smog is also contributing.
Oh yes,
because it contributes. What it does is it every problem that's coming out of this, that our society fundamentally is not doing the one thing. You know, like society has one job, and that is getting people pair bonding and reproducing and capturing all of the instincts around that to perpetuate its systems.
Well,
shall we say?
And the thing
he's not doing it.
Yeah, no, the thing is too, right? You can have two people with very low sex drive, right? Who still want to have kids.
Yep.
And who will still do the work that, even if it feels like a chore sometimes, right? Or they'll still feel the urge on occasion, even if they only have sex like 6-8 times a year, right? They'll still do it because they want to have kids. They'll see it as a job. You have people who really want to get pregnant, and they look at it as a job. She's like timing her ovulation. She's like keeping track on the calendar. She's doing all those things, right? And then she's doing the does she lie? How do you have sex? Like, in what position do you have sex to encourage a boy or a girl? And then you have to lie on your back with your legs up in the air to make sure that all of the semen,
like Julianne
travels,
Moore from The Big Lebowski,
it doesn't drain out, right? Yeah. And so you can have all of these things, right, with people who just see sex as a necessary chore, right? But we have actually tainted the whole idea of sex under this patriarchal narrative of it's all about the man's gratification, and any sexual gratification on the part of the man is like some kind of way that he's cheated or exploited a woman out of something. And it's like it is a combination of narratives and, I think, environmental chemical environmental factors that just absolute, and indoctrination.
Perfect storm. It's a perfect storm.
No, it's a perfect storm of like multifaceted, and nobody wants to look at the.
Nobody wants to look at it. Just want to blame men. And the thing is that this guy is internalizing it. This instead of this being something external, and it is external. I don't care how many traditionalists or Jordan Peterson wants to say, oh, men need to step up. I don't know if he says it like that, but
no, but he has said that if you are unsuccessful with all men, right, as a woman, then that's not men, that's you. And if you're unsuccessful with all women as a man, that's also you. That's not women. That's you. Right? No, I think that there is a situation here, and I got after him for it. And
there's the hormones, and then there's the whole, like, women aren't under a narrative that they are that when you get into a relationship, like, think about all of the messaging that our society has about being in relationships with men, right? And how negative it is towards women being in relationships with men. You're going to be exploited. You're going to be turned into domestic labor. Your sex is going to be awful. You're going to be abused. You're going to be raped. You're going to be murdered. There's constant drumbeat of condemnation and pointing to men as like the worst investment when it comes to relationships. So there's at
the same time, if he isn't gorgeous and willing to lay down his life for you, right, then he's not worth having. And it's just like, I'm sorry, but there are plenty of men out there who are worth having, right?
Yeah, most of them, really.
Most
women are worth having, then most men are worth having to a degree.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and it's like, yeah, okay, but it really is kind of that whole you have people who are not men's rights activists now, right? Like, they're not men's rights activists. They're not part of the manosphere, but they are literally saying the 80-20 rule is in effect.
Yeah.
Right?
But what's also really interesting about this is because this 80-20 rule is a result of the lack of individuation of women. And what I mean by that is because we have, since like the 40s, since we've been recording this, we know that people see women as having less agency. So they see women essentially as having less self, in a way. That aspect of self, which is a recognition of the effect of your actions in the greater world. So women aren't becoming individuals. They aren't developing their own interests.
Well, if every bad decision and mistake you make can be laid at somebody else's doorstep.
Yeah, you're not developing that aspect of yourself.
Even if you were warned, like, take the Russell Brand thing, right? She says, oh, the driver told me, right, oh, you're only 16, don't go in there. Don't go in there because he's got a bad reputation sexually, and I have a 16-year-old daughter, and blah, blah, blah. And he warned her, and she went in anyway. And then she complains about it now, 16 years later, right? About how she was raped. And it's just like, okay, well, that's on you. right? I mean, regardless of whether that cab driver was telling you the truth, regardless of whether you were raped or not, right? And I think it was Robert Barnes, right, on vivabarneslaw.locals.com, who said, you know, like, this is the issue when you have the 80-20 rule in effect, right? You have a situation where 80% of women.
Can you elaborate a bit more on the circumstances you're referring to? Because there's a lot of
Brand? No,
yeah. Oh, right, yes. Okay, I'd actually.
Allegations.
I'm going to do the Watson. What are you speaking of there?
Okay, but you have this 80-20 rule that feminists put into place through the sexual revolution and freeing up women and to pair up and, you know, telling women that they can be just like men and all of that and they can behave just like men and they'll be perfectly happy and all of those things, right? So you have 80% of the women chasing 20% of the men, right? And then the morning that they wake up and realize that they're part of a harem, they're not happy about it, right? And it's like, well, no shit, Sherlock, right? And it's like,
and then the accusations start, yeah.
And then the accusations start, and it's like 16, 20-year-old accusations, and you know, these are things that Russell Brand has freely admitted. You know, I treated women callously. I was a bit of a cad, right? You know, I you know, but he never did anything illegal that I can see. None of the accusations that have come out against him involve anything that I would qualify or categorize as illegal, as criminal.
And how much time had passed between when it supposedly happened and the accusations?
16 to 20 years.
16 to 20 years, okay.
But, you know,
just checking. I'm looking at Danny Masterson, you know, wants to know your location.
And I'm not saying that the allegations against Russell Brand in and of themselves, like, I'm not saying necessarily that these 4 women are making stuff up, right? I'm just saying that the things that they're saying that he did are not criminal.
Yeah.
Right?
It's sort of difficult to go forward with that, huh?
It's not a crime to be a cad. It's not a crime to...
It used to be.
To have sex with women who throw themselves at you.
It used to be a crime. Breach of promise. Frank Sinatra got hit with that one. But just to pull this back, the 80-20 rule is something that is not on men. Okay, but what I wanted to point out...
No, it's on feminism.
What I wanted to point out, but notice how she's framing this. He thinks this is a personal failing, and I can tell that from the way that he's framing it. And I want to bring you back to like the Depression and something interesting about the Depression. I don't know if I've brought this up here, but there was an offhand comment that a child of a Depression era father mentioned. He talked about how, you know, the entire economic situation was not a result of the working class men. No failure on their part. It was just a breakdown in maybe regulations or maybe I don't know the precise thing, but anyway, it was a market collapse. It had absolutely nothing to do with the individual man or the individual man's choices. And you would have thought, considering the desperation and the fact that there were so many men in the same situation, that they might have unionized or come together or rebelled against the system, but they didn't, because every single man saw it as a personal failing. So this is how systems maintain themselves. They make men think that the situation is a personal failing. This man thinks that the situation is a personal failing. It's not a personal failing. This guy Jamal hasn't failed. He's probably just a normal guy in a society where women have better expectations. And I'm not going to say like
unrealistic expectations.
Not even okay. In our society, unrealistic expectations. They want a man in the top 1% of income, you know, top 10% of height, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And they're very shallow expectations. What they don't want is what we had before, which is women who said, you know, I just want somebody. Could you, Brian, please don't. the movement of the cursor is like really bugging me. I'm sorry. It's so distracting. I'm so autistic. I apologize. Okay. In the past, you wanted a man to build a life with. And the process of building that life, we understood that the process of building that life was the process of falling in love and developing somebody who you wanted to have a permanent attachment to. You didn't just look at Mr. Big and just fall instantly in love. It was a process of give and take, of developing each other as people, developing a life together. That's what love was. And we understood that. And now these women want men to come to them already perfect and yet also change them somehow. And there's no, and that's never going to work, because I think there's an element in every person that they want to feel like the person that they love has a bit of them and has changed for them, has become and evolved with them. You see what I'm saying? It's not necessarily that you're forcing another person to change, but that you've come together and become something greater together. If that makes sense.
My parents are like that, right? Like when my dad met my mom, he was living in a bachelor suite with 4 other men. Okay, there was 1 bed and 1 sofa, 1 hot plate, lots of floor, and no bathroom. There was a bathroom for the whole floor of the apartment building, right? And he was cleaning windows. He was washing windows on multi-story buildings, where you go up in the rig, right? And oh wait, no, it wasn't when he was washing windows. It was when he was working as a lot boy at a car dealership. So he was detailing cars, and he used to actually, he did this thing when because he and his buddies would always go out and drink every night and spend their money, and then the money there was too much month left at the end of the money, right? So my dad would buy an onion and a loaf of bread and a pound of lard, and for a few days what he would do is he would cook the onion on the hot plate in a skillet in the pound of lard until the onion was nicely black, because he really likes his onions black. And then he would let it harden, and he would make sandwiches out of that. He would spread it on the bread and make sandwiches out of that. And that's what he would eat for like the 3 days at the end of the month. That's how he was living. And then he met my mom. And then he totally turned around. He met her. The first time he saw her, he said she was like Audrey Hepburn and Elizabeth Taylor in one woman. She was gorgeous. She was sitting on an older man's lap, one of her, quote, uncles, flirting with him when he picked her up. And he only went on this date with her because his friend Lutz had a date with someone that she knew, right? He was dating someone she knew, and but they were way out of town. They were like 15 kilometers out of town. So he was like, Lutz wanted somebody to share the gas money. So he was like, you want to go on a blind date with some chick? And my dad was like, okay. And he walked in to pick her up, and he was like, that was it. I was done. It was all over for me. I knew that was the woman I was going to marry. And he became one of the most responsible people on the face of the planet. He went and he got his mechanics certificate. He worked like he was a workaholic, supporting the family, right? And they worked together as a team the entire time, right? When he was in school, my mom was working, right? Even when my oldest sister was small, right? They lived with my grandparents for quite some time, right? Before they could afford to buy a house. They built up their credit. They did all of that. They went into it. And my mom said to me one time, first thing she said to me was, I regret that your dad was not the first man that I had sex with. And she said that because she had plenty of men who were chasing her, she said, when I thought about what I wanted out of life, which was a home, a family, children, right? A life. I thought, what does it matter that Mo isn't a good dancer? What does it matter that he's not particularly, flamboyant about, he doesn't when he brings me flowers, he picked them from the garden outside the front door, right? Or dandelions from the lawn, right? What does any of that matter? He's proved to me that he's going to be a rock that I can attach myself to, and my kids. And it doesn't matter that he can't dance, and it doesn't matter that he doesn't sweep me off my feet. It matters that he can tether me to the ground, and any kids we have, right? That's what she told me. That's why she chose him. And the day that they were no longer together was the day he died at 87. That's how people used to build relationships.
Yeah, and that requires, I know this sounds, maybe this might be controversial. And really that's something that you see in romance, this idea that, and not all romance is terrible. I'll be the first to say that, a lot of it is, some of it, like modern romance, I don't know what the hell they think they're doing. But the way that romance is supposed to be structured is that the two protagonists are simultaneously protagonists and each other's greatest antagonist. And the process of the story is the two people learning that their relationship is more important than certain aspects of their expectations and certain things that they've held on to as individuals.
That's why, it's why I loved Last of the Mohicans.
Yeah, and that used to be like, it used to be more about that. And in order to have that back, women would have to get themselves back in a lot of ways, because it requires a woman who says, my effect on this man is more important to me than the expectations of the people around me. Or what my expectations of a grand romance, that I have.
Yeah, the sweeping off my feet, all of those things, right? And like when my dad went to, he didn't have to ask, and he didn't ask my mom's dad for her hand in marriage. He went to my grandfather's mother, the matriarch of the family. Yeah,
I saw the progression there.
Kevin,
there was an ambulance, and then Kevin had to join in.
Oh yeah. She thinks they're chasing caribou or something, but yeah, he went to ma mère, the matriarch of the family, and he said, I want to marry your daughter, and she put him to stuck the pins to him, right, and pulled off his thumbnails and tortured him for an hour, and then when my mom went to her, ma mère said, he refuses to join the church. Marry him anyway.
Yeah, but it used to be about that. Like, it used to be about, I think women understood that part of love was seeing how someone developed in a relationship with you. And not that you did nothing, not that you didn't change, but you also changed. And there was a virtue in that and an understanding. And I think it was, there was a lot of religious framing. Maybe that's what made that whole kind of thing more accessible to people and connected it to something more romantic and huge, a story, a vast sweeping epic about good and evil and battles and in a supernatural realm. And maybe that was something that people needed to take that kind of very intimate domestic understanding that people develop with each other and cast it in more romantic epic terms. I don't know. I don't know if I'm making any sense, but my overall point is that this is not Jamal's fault. And he is one of Legion. He's one of many, 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 many lonely men. And they're lonely because fundamentally women's standards have changed, and they haven't changed for the better. They haven't changed for the more independent. They've changed for the more superficial, the more homogenized, the more undeveloped, and the more childish and immature.
Childish is really the thing, and this is one of the things, whenever feminists brag about how, girls mature more quickly or at a younger age than boys. And it's like, yeah, no. Well, yes, they do. They reach their ceiling at a younger age than boys do.
That doesn't mean that they're more mature.
Yeah, no, that doesn't mean that as adults of 25 or older that they're more mature. Just means they're the most mature teenager in the room.
This is what I've seen. For the most part, men still, would give the time of day to a woman who's the equivalent of looks, money, whatever, as themselves. Women won't.
Yeah.
2, men still go into a relationship with a desire to want to be a partner. Okay? And if you said to a man, wow, women, your potential woman is going to get so much from a relationship with you. So, okay, men want to go into a relationship. This is what I've seen. And they want a partner. They want to build a life with someone. They want to make their life easier. I don't see this with women. It seems like it's a fight to the death over who gets the most, and it's really disturbing to see. And then 2,
rent seeking all the time, yeah.
Yeah. 2, if you said to a man, your future wife will get so much out of a relationship with you, she'll be so much better off than a single woman, he probably would be thrilled. Yeah. If you said to a woman today, the average woman, and this is what I judge from what these, and maybe this is just women with lots of free time, they're the ones who are speaking out the most. If you say to them, your husband is going to get so much from you, he's going to be so much better off than a single man, he is going to be, he's going to be helped by you, he's going to get so much emotionally from you, she'd be like, well, what's in it for me? Like, yeah. I don't want to, like, I can't believe what he's stealing from me.
Yeah.
Like, they're basically saying that you are of value to your potential romantic partner, and you consider that a source of resentment? Mm-hmm. It's unbelievable. And these are these attitudes I've seen so much. And honestly, and again, this is something that's going to take a while to lay out properly, but the demands, there are psychological demands placed on women in our society to perform a particular role of victim, and it really has destroyed them. And there's a reason for this, for women having to play this role of victim, and it is a role that is applied to them. And there's pressures to adopt it, incredible pressures to adopt that role. I mean, it's so much pressure that you don't even know you're in it until you step out of it and realize. Like, I had my moment walking across a parking lot, and I realized, well, I could. And I was actually scared. I'm going to get raped or something. I'm going to get assaulted. And then I realized, because I had been internalizing all of the statistics of men's issues. Well, 1, men are equally likely to be abused in this manner. And 2, men who do actually engage in sexual assault have been sexually assaulted themselves. And I remember just standing there in that parking lot. It was like, at twilight. So there's lots of shaded places, and it wasn't a little slightly sketchy part of town. I wasn't really standing. I was just walking through it. And I realized that, and I really internalized that men's issues, men's rights statistics for the first time in my life. And it was like a weight lifted off my shoulders. Yeah. And I did not feel any fear at that point.
Because you're not a special victim.
No, I'm
right?
not a special victim as a woman.
You're not especially a victim.
Yes.
So.
And it's like that weight, that pressure lifted off me. And it was such an intense feeling of freedom. Like, I can't even freaking describe it. And I realized that all of the women that have internalized feminism are living under that level of pressure and being squeezed and diminished and made small. And there's a reason for it that's beyond just being, women being assholes. There's an actual psychological pressure going on. Yeah. And that diminishment means that they turn around and take all of those attitudes and put them into their relationships. And I'm not going to say that it's their fault entirely. It may feel like it, but I have actually fought against that pressure. And I think people have seen from my experiences that it is a bit difficult to deny it and to fight against the pressure to be a victim in our society as a woman. It's not easy. So you can understand why the average woman who isn't as pig-headed as I am might have a great deal of difficulty with it. And I can understand that, and I can appreciate that. But at the same time, they're the only ones who can change it. Women are the only ones who can choose to be more than what they are now, and what they have chosen to be.
It is kind of like that. What I said when the Australian guys, Rowan Dean and oh God, I can never remember his name. But the Outsider, right, on Sky News Australia, right, when they asked me, is it just miserable women attracted to feminism, or is it feminism making women miserable? And I was like, well, it's a little of column A, a little of column B, right? Miserable women would want to find an excuse as to why they're miserable that lifts the blame off of them, right? But also, when you're bombarded with this message that the entirety of society is plotting against you, that can't be a very happy message to go out and face your day with.
No, it's an awful message. And I know it's awful, and I know how unbelievably destructive it is, because I had that moment. That it was such a clear moment of, and the funny thing is I'd been dealing with these statistics for at least I think 7 years at that time. It took that long, me really beating my head against the truth of sexual assault, the truth of domestic violence, to finally have all that weight of victimhood lift off me.
See, and I always knew it was bullshitty. So
yeah, no,
even as a teenager. Right?
Yeah, you're in some sort of special category of
I don't know.
Precocious.
I think maybe it was partially because my parents were so beautiful together. Right?
Yeah.
That was what inured me to all of the propaganda. So. Yeah.
I think in my case, I just had to contend with the message a lot. But interestingly,
I was a little older than you too, so I grew up. My most formative years were a little bit before all of this became kind of mainstreamed and all of that. So, but and also my mom used to call me her Philadelphia lawyer. So, because I could argue any point from any angle from the time I was 7 or 8, and have her to the point where she was just I was almost about to, where she was saying, okay, the reason you're wrong is because I am the mother and you are the daughter. Now shut up and go away. Right?
I actually wonder if I would have ever gone down this route, because it was my mother that put me on this route, by bringing up this first bit of men's issues stuff.
Yeah.
And she was the one who started off the whole questioning of feminism because of the appalling treatment of my father by feminists. So
yeah, but I mean, it's I was always just because I had such a stable, my parents were so stable and so steady, right, in their expectations, and such an amazing team, right? Like, you could never play one against the other. It was, like, impossible. But and they didn't always agree on everything, but you could never play both ends against the middle with them. But it was also, I think, I was just ornery. I was ornery and contrary, and everybody hated it, and it's why I, like, came close to, like, failing every single course from the time I was 10 years old onward. Because I was just like, yeah, no, I'm not going to do this. This is busy work.
I'm doing it my way.
I'm not going to do it, and you can't make me. And
yeah,
go ahead and fail me.
I think that's probably something that we both share. And it literally takes women on the complete outlierness of disagreeableness.
Yeah.
But also combined probably with compassion to actually fight against the tide here. So honestly, I feel sorry for women who've ingested this message, because it's toxic, it's damaging, and it's making them miserable. And for what? Well, I know what for, but I won't get into that. Anyway, the ultimate conclusion of all this, and O'Brien's gotten really quiet, so maybe we should, is that this is not Jamal's fault. This is something well beyond him. And honestly, right now, of the two, men or women are the only ones who can change this. They have to seek to be more. They have to seek to want to get themselves back. And once they get themselves back, they will understand the worth of a relationship that you build, so that you see the effect of yourself on the other person and on the life that you've built together. And you are drawn to seeing the effect of yourself in the world. That you find satisfaction in seeing the effect of your decisions and what you have done. You see the effect of that and you get satisfaction from it. Until that happens, this will continue to be a problem. So it's not even that women are necessarily to blame for having been basically molded into what they are now. It's that they're the only ones who can take the foot binding off.
Yeah.
And as painful as it is, start to reverse the damage. Okay. All right, let's keep going. Yes.
Well, I got... yeah, I know. Hi, I'm here. I got some super chows that I think we should read through because they are building up. So I'm going to read through those and then I'll go back to the article, okay? So we got one from Rorschach Snow for $10. Thank you, Rorschach Snow. And he says, hey, Badgers, how much wood could a woodchuck Norris chuck if a woodchuck Norris could chuck wood? Well, it's Chuck Norris, so all of it.
Yeah, all of it.
All of it, obviously. Then I got a $100 donation from Iggy Thunders. Thank you, Iggy Thunders. Woo! Is that the same as the support?
Yes.
Allison? It's okay. It's just here too as a super chow.
So no. It's not the same as the support. Like, this was also something. This was separate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. I read this in Midwich Cuckoos about 2 months back, and every solipsistic woman I've seen since, Laura Bates, Sarkeesians, and Kasparians of the world, just keep it pulsing in my mental periphery. Men's arrogance is boastful, Zellaby observed. Women's is something in the fiber. Men do occasionally contemplate the once lordly dinosaurs, and wonder when and how our little day will reach its end. But not she. Her eternity is an article of her faith. Great wars and disasters can ebb and flow. Races rise and fall. Empires wither with suffering and death. But these are the superficialities. She, woman, is perpetual, essential. She will go on forever. She doesn't believe in the dinosaurs. She doesn't really believe Earth ever existed until she was upon it. Men may build and destroy and play with all their toys. They are uncomfortable nuisances, ephemeral conveniences, mere scampers about. While woman, in mystical umbilical connection with the great tree of life itself, knows that she is indispensable. One wonders whether the female dinosaur in her day was blessed with the same certainty. End quote. Wyndham wrote this in 1957. So guys, how often do you think of the Roman Empire?
I think of the Roman Empire a lot. I
Yeah.
really think about the guy who oh I forget his name, but he actually destroyed Carthage, and as he was watching Carthage burn, he contemplated the end of his own empire. I always thought that was interesting.
Well, yeah, nothing lasts.
Nothing lasts, and I'll let you guys respond to this, but yeah, that there is I think, and you know what's really funny is if a feminist wrote this, no one would have any problem with it, because this is basically just saying, yeah, men are expendable, but women are eternal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I can understand where he's coming from, and I think that maybe that's sort of the resonance of menopause, is that's when women need to reflect upon their mortality, and that they're no longer a part of that process of perpetuating the human species. You know?
Well, yeah, and that's sometimes, increasingly these days, that's when they go to a fertility specialist to see if they can't still
Yeah.
bang something out.
Yeah, because they want to continue to be part of that. I mean, it must be. It's not an easy transition. I imagine it made much worse when you haven't spent the time to contemplate your own mortality.
Yeah, no, I didn't enjoy it, but I was like, because it's a really uncomfortable physically transition. But at least I had my 3 stamps, right, on the wall of existence, right? You know, like
Mm-hmm.
Jack, Rachel, Sam, and I'm hoping that one of them might give me a. I'm almost envying my sister because her idiot son knocked up his girlfriend. Very early by accident, and they have like an adorable little baby. He's like absolutely gorgeous. This little baby. His name is Vaughn, and like Stevie Ray Vaughan, and he's just like a intuitive, inquisitive exploration. A little bundle of exploration. He's just like good-tempered, and he doesn't really cry, and he like wants to try things all the time, and you watch him, and it's like it's like I kind of want that for myself. You know, I kind of want to be a grandmother.
Well, hopefully that'll happen for you.
Well, yeah, no, hopefully someone will touch one of my kids' penises at some point. So
yeah, well, that's what we're trying to
or Rachel will like basically say,
get knocked up.
I want a baby, so I guess I could submit to this for a couple times.
You know, it grows on you. Sex grows on you. Like, does she not know that? Like, it's a little bit weird at first, but then it's like, yeah, this is something, and then you start to get. It's like oysters, eating oysters for the first time.
Oh
You're
God!
like,
Don't!
It's a little weird.
Don't compare it to that. Oh! No, garlic
Sometimes
toast.
it doesn't just grow on you. Sometimes it grows in you.
Okay. With Rachel, I'll have to compare it to garlic toast. You remember, Rachel, all those times we made garlic toast, and you were like, no, I don't want any. No, I don't want any. I don't like it. And then you tried it, and then you were like a huge fan of garlic toast. Maybe you should try having sex outside of wedlock. Get yourself knocked up by accident. You don't need birth control. Just use the rhythm method, or withdrawal, and just hope that he has. I'll just cross my fingers and hope he has a sperm count that means one of his swimmers makes it to the freaking finish line.
Yeah. Okay.
And then you guys are gonna have to get together, and you can just like live near me like you do now.
She has a long-term boyfriend, doesn't she?
She does, but I don't know that they're intimate.
I wonder how he's taking it.
He's a little bit autistic like her, so
Oh goodness! So you got two of them. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if I like garlic toast.
yeah, no, it's literally it's the worst possible situation. I mean, like I'm thinking to myself, like why couldn't you have like taken that dude up on his offer to take you to a party when you were walking out of Buster's Pizza at midnight that one
Well,
night?
the Louis the 16th sort of had a similar issue. Him and Marie Antoinette.
Oh,
Apparently, they for the first I don't know how I think it was a fairly large amount of time, might have been even 10 years of their relationship. They never actually were capable of having sex, and then they figured it out, and they popped out like I don't know 6 or 7 children. So you never know, Karen.
yeah, well, I don't.
And then
want
they
no
all got
six-
their heads chopped off, but
Yeah, I don't want no 6 or 7. I'd just settle for one each, one each.
Okay, all right, there you go.
That-
Well, let's.
That would be good enough for me.
Yeah, it is. Okay, well,
I'll
it is-
even babysit. I'll even smoke on the porch when I'm babysitting. Of course, I'd
Wow,
be leaving
that's
them
quite a
unattended.
sacrifice.
I'd be leaving them unattended inside the house, right? But that's raised by wolves kind of parenting, right?
Okay, so we have some more super chows to read.
Yeah, I do.
Get to it, Brian. I know
Alright.
you've been trying.
Okay.
I didn't mean to imply that you
It's
haven't
fine.
been trying.
No, I know what I've been doing. Okay, so I got another super chow from I think women need more testosterone too. Gives us $5
Yes.
and says, I have a semi-humorous, semi-serious theory that modern women's testosterone levels are way too low as well. Testosterone
Yes.
helps regulate women's emotions and improves their cooperation. Physical labor also increases testosterone. Way back in the day, women did a lot more physical labor as well, so I suspect their testosterone levels were higher than modern women's. My solution, we must send the women out into the wild and work on the physically demanding jobs. Well, good luck.
Or we
Good
could
luck
just
with
give
that.
them a testosterone patch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that
Yeah.
would be the thing, and they've actually found
They do make
Right?
those, yeah.
That- they've actually found that if with both men and women, a little testosterone patch, low dose testosterone patch, increases their fairness in bargaining. It decreases the telling of self-serving lies. It ups their body confidence, especially, right? So they don't feel vulnerable physically. They don't, yeah. And they also feel attractive even though they're growing a mustache. So, and it ups their libido. So, I'm just like, yeah, no, give them a little.
Or
tea.
mustachioed women. That's what the
Well,
world
no,
needs.
but it's like you literally have a situation where they gave women testosterone
Maybe the
to-
dwarfs are onto something though.
to deal with low libido, right? And they found that not only did it up their libido, but it upped their sense of their own physical attractiveness. It reduced their insecurity about their physical flaws.
Mm.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, no, so you're literally getting a little bit of a mustache on your upper lip, but you don't care.
Mm.
You don't care.
Okay. All right, but
So it's like I'm like, well, just bring on the testosterone. As long
Yeah.
as it doesn't give you a flaming yeast infection, it should be great.
just send some crop dusters out. Do it in like gigantic plumes.
oh
over the
God,
cities.
yeah.
Do
Well,
it over the
because
cities, and then
because all-
maybe they'll vote Republican or something.
Put the chemicals on the
they
water.
probably will. No, but
Turn the frogs
literally,
straight.
the issue is right now is that all the chemicals in the water are estrogenizing people. All the chemicals, all the endocrine disruptors are estrogenizing people. There
Okay.
are no endocrine disruptors in the environment that I have heard of that are testosteronizing people or androgenizing people.
Yeah. Okay. So not only do women control all of education, all of early learning, Also, their hormones are dominant. I don't know why we are constantly scapegoating masculinity. It seems like this age is a pathological lack of it, a lack of testosterone.
Yes.
All right, let's keep going on the super chows
All right,
there.
so I got
Who threw
more super chow. I'm trying. I got one from Sleepy Aussie for $5, and he says it's 5:30 a.m. and I have had no sleep, so I can finally catch your show live. Hooray for Karen's 15-minute tangents. You're welcome and thank you, Sleepy Aussie. Sorry that you are sleepy yet unable to get sleep. Plain Dane gives us $12 and says, I remember years ago when Barbar, Stardust, and Sandman were at their peak. I saw a video of a woman talking about nice guys. In the video, she essentially says once women have had their fill of bad boy chads, they want to settle down with the nice guys that either friend-zoned or turned down. The comment section tore her a new one. She took down the video and then her channel, but the internet being the internet, it never forgets. I can't remember her name, so I guess you forget, even though the internet doesn't. But you can find a clip of the video on YouTube. It's titled Women Love Nice Guys and That's You. It's uploaded by RP Solutions. Thank you, Plain Dane. I will look it up. And I was joking about the forgetting thing, but...
Yeah, no, I'll look it up too, but yeah.
Can I do my thank yous?
Yeah, whatever.
Okay.
Look it up, and but let me do my thank yous. So Tobin gives us $125 for Badger Meteor Blitz. So thank you, Tobin. And we got 500 as the show started from Los Angeles. I'll just say that, Los Angeles. I haven't seen that name before, so thank you, Los Angeles, for $500.
Thank you very much. That's really nice.
Wow.
Thank you.
And that I really appreciate that. Okay, so those are my thank yous. Shall we get onto this article and try to finish it off? It's not that long. Like, we could probably... I mean, ultimately, what I wanted to say, just simply, was that Jamal is taking personal responsibility, which is very admirable, but and I could see working with Jamal and saying, you know, this is the external realities you're dealing with. It's admirable you're taking personal responsibility, because if you are given even the least amount of something to work with, you'll most likely build, you know, a mountain. And I know this is the wrong kind of metaphor, but if a guy like Jamal, who takes personal responsibilities, is just given a bit of, like, you know, relax that taking of personal responsibility and given something to work with, they usually do incredible with it. You know what I mean? Like a guy who takes personal responsibility says, okay, what can I do? What am I doing wrong? And you tell that guy, no, sometimes things are out of your control, but here's the things that are in your control. You sort of sort that out for him. They usually can do some incredible stuff with their lives. It's more difficult to do anything with the guys who are like, yeah, everybody is a pain. Everybody's out to get me. The world is a monster, and blah, blah. It's really difficult to do anything with guys like that, unfortunately. Until they themselves hit rock bottom with that kind of attitude and realize that they have to start to care about somebody else besides themselves. I know that's a horrible thing to say, but it's what I've seen. People who don't take responsibility for their lives get the life that they haven't taken responsibility for, essentially. All right, let's keep going.
All right, so that's the super chows. Where was I? I'm so far... Oh, I already read that. He trails off and then adds, I'm just not going to try anymore. It's not worth it. Jamal, who asked me to conceal his last name to protect his reputation at work, is one of a growing number of young men who are withdrawing from the dating pool. More than 6 in 10 men aged 18 to 29 are now single, up from about 5 in 10 in 2019, according to data from Pew Research Center. Respondents gave a range of reasons for their singlehood, including having, quote, more important priorities, and the fact that they, quote, just like being single, or that they've gotten too old to keep trying. But
this is something that the statistics aren't talking about. Like 60% of young men are single, but 10% in the last couple of years or less are looking. Mm-hmm. So the number of men who are looking for partnership is going down.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's keep going.
All right, but part of it also boils down to this. It's hard for men to find partners at a moment when women are outpacing them both at school and work. Young women now hold 1.6 million more college degrees than men, and in a growing number of cities, including Los Angeles, Washington, D.C., and New York, they make as much as or more than their male counterparts. And even if they become mothers, odds are 4 in 10 will become the breadwinners of their households. What discourages me so much is that most of the women that I've seen on dating sites, they want a man making as much as them, and they're making upwards of like $100,000, said Jamal, who tells me he makes $55,000 a year. Which isn't bad, actually. I mean,
No, it's not bad at all.
You could live a decent life on 55 grand.
You find the right place, you could
Yeah.
you could probably have a stay at home at 55.
Yep. A lot of men are checking out, he adds. We're just tired. We're just tired of being told that we don't measure up either physically or financially. I found Jamal on the online Reddit community Our True Unpopular Opinion, where men often vent about the dating scene. On another subreddit, Our Purple Pill Debate, male commenters bemoan that they're held to the 666 rule, which mandates that they be 6 feet tall, make 6 figures, and have 6 inches or more downstairs. Jamal describes himself as straight-laced guy who is 5 foot 5 inches tall. The
Oh,
short king. It's a short king.
yeah, no.
Yeah. The men
That's
what?
that's literally like that's death on dating sites.
It is.
Yeah.
You have to go a different route. You have to actually like romance a woman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
in
but he's
real
also saying
life.
he's
You know.
also saying that he doesn't have the social skills, which is another aspect of this kind of romantic, oh, sweep me off the feet, have the ability to say, whisper the sweet
Yeah.
nothings and sound
Yeah.
like
Oh yeah.
I don't know, a French courtier. That's Jamal sounds like a really good guy. Like he sounds like your father.
Yeah.
He sounds like a rock. Someone you could tether yourself to, someone you could build a life with, somebody who's going to be there every day helping with the patience to help slowly construct something out of nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So he has in every sense, to a woman who knows herself and wants to live a life that will be an expression of herself rather than an expression of the current trends or fashions, this would be a good choice. Jamal would be a
Yeah.
good choice.
Yeah.
And he's short. Well, you know what? There's plenty of women under 5 foot.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
No, there's you can find a small woman as long
Yeah,
as it's
like, I don't know why
proportionately. Yeah, the small women want the really tall guys too. I don't think it's realistic, but yeah.
No, but really, like if you're a hobbit of a woman, why do you need a 6 foot man? Like
Yeah,
I say
no.
that having a 6 foot husband, but
I have a friend who married a very tall, large guy. Not just tall, but broad, right?
Mhm.
Linebacker build. And when she was given birth, she really regretted it.
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah,
You know?
666 rule? Well, she had the 66 rule. 66 stitches
Ugh,
from
there
yeah,
you go. Think
from
about it.
her from the bottom of her vagina all the way up her anus. Because
Okay.
that kid split her.
Mhm. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, well, think of that. Jamal's babies will be travel sized.
Yeah.
Again,
There you go.
let's keep going because we have a lot to get through and it's already been over
Yeah,
an
yeah.
hour. So,
It probably. I think I was a bit ambitious.
I'm just gonna say I'm not doing the video. So
Alright.
Yeah, this is actually a lot more, I think, productive than that stupid video. Anyway, keep going. I mean, if you and me, Brian, we can do a chaser, like a reverse chaser with a couple of those
all right.
TikTok women,
Yeah.
just to compare.
Yeah,
Let's
sure.
keep going.
Okay. To see if things were as bad as they claimed. The men I spoke with, ranging from ages 17 to 33 and living in rural New Jersey to Austin, Texas, said they felt overlooked in a competitive dating market where women often list salary requirements and height preferences on their profiles. To see if things were as bad as they claimed, I joined 2 major dating platforms, Tinder and Hinge, and posted as a hip 30-year-old business owner with a full head of hair and a degree from NYU. A few swipes in, I spotted a busty blonde leaning over in a halter dress with the caption, "Together we could find out if you're lying about your height." Then, a 22-year-old captured in a selfie at her work cubicle with her cleavage resting on her desk wrote, "Don't super like me. If you're ugly, I already have a lot going on." Another woman, 5'2" bombshell named Ashley, warned men, "If you're one of those split the check or not wealthy, next." That financial pressure is what screws men over most, and Jess Carbino, the former in-house sociologist for Tinder and Bumble. Bumble, by the way, oh shit, what's this? Leave me alone. Maybe later. Bumble, by the way, is a feminist dating site. That supposedly it is, because the idea is that women make the first move on Bumble.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
Gives them
So
all
there
the
are no
power.
moves being made.
No, yeah, exactly. So nobody's
You know,
getting
I
together.
would imagine
just
that-
like feminists
that takes-
want.
That takes away their power because it's the person who makes the first move who's taking the risk.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's keep going.
The traditional markets of
Marker.
markers of
Yeah.
adulthood, like buying a home, completing college, and getting married, are all becoming far harder to achieve, Carbino said. Many men perceive themselves to be far less marriageable, and in turn, many women perceive them to be less marriageable too. Oh, so men are causing women to see them that way?
Yeah, no.
No.
When it's literally like if you're under 6 feet, then go fuck yourself,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's not the men.
She says it's never been easy to be Joe average on the dating market, but things are rougher now that the average man's salary, which hovers just above $61,000 in the US, which is probably plenty for a man who's single to live on, by the way, is hardly enough to afford rent in most major American cities. Yet still, many women hold out for men who make not just as much or more than they do, but are also wildly attractive.
Yeah, the top 10 to 20%.
Nah, it's like maybe like the top 5, top 10, I think.
Yeah, it's getting worse.
Yeah, I think
Because
and
it's
it-
relative.
Getting worse.
not just the mid women are asking this, like the straight up ham beasts are expecting this too.
Oh,
I don't
yeah,
know
no,
where
the
their
Lizzos.
standards are coming. Yeah, the Lizzos, exactly. The body positive eligible bachelorettes are making these demands. While the sexual revolution freed women from depending on men for income or stability, it also means that they can privilege more frivolous qualities in a mate, says Rob Henderson,
Actually,
a psychology PhD with a Substack on social mores.
okay,
The sexual revolution didn't free women from depending on men for income or stability. That was the welfare state that did that.
well, yeah, and also they aren't freed from men because everything that matters is still produced by men.
Yes,
It's just that we have this system that doesn't reflect that anymore. That
Yeah.
doesn't reflect the importance of men's work anymore. But the other thing is that I wanted to say, what the hell have women been liberated from? They still want a man who makes more than them. It's just that almost no men fit the bill now.
Yeah.
You know, in the 50s, almost every man made more than women.
Yeah.
Now, and women wanted men who made more than them. But still, almost every man made more than women. Now that women still want men to make more than them, it's just there are far fewer of them who do so.
Yeah, no, and you look at the statistics in terms of income brackets, and you find that the higher up in the socioeconomic hierarchy you go, like the more money a woman earns, the more she will insist on a man who earns more than her, because she's not looking to support a man. She's looking for a man to support her in the situation that she's become accustomed to, right?
And-
in the style that she's become accustomed to. And so, and this is not a bad thing. This is not an evil thing. This is just the equation of man plus woman equals 3 mouths to feed and 1 less mouth to feed them, right? That's literally what it is.
But at this point, considering how much women make and how much more they want men to make, that you could have a life on significantly less than what they're asking for.
Oh, of course.
They're not
of course,
asking
but
for they're not asking for this money to raise children as a homesteader.
no,
They're asking
no.
for this money to buy another fleet of shoes.
Yes, I know, because that's the lifestyle they've become accustomed to, right? Is the one that they could afford on their six-figure salary. And so they're definitely not going to transition into a six-figure salary that has to be split between three individuals. Me, him, and the baby. Right?
Yeah, I think there's something to be said.
They want to maintain their lifestyle. That's what this is, right? And that's perfectly reasonable in terms of evolutionary psychology. There's a reason that exists. Right?
Yeah, but not at this level. Like, there's a reason that exists if a woman is like 61,000. That guy could easily take care of a family in the right place in North America. Women,
not in the style she's become accustomed to.
Yeah, then why is it that this style is evolutionarily acceptable? What's evolutionary acceptable is a contributing partner who helps you get through the birth, the gestation, not complete a man who takes care of everything, plus a au pair from the Philippines, plus a gardener, plus that's not evolutionary.
Okay,
that's just selfishness.
Okay, yes, but the selfishness, okay, the selfishness itself, right? This, if you think about it, right, that impulse exists for a reason. Someone who earns more than I do, that exists for a reason, because throughout all of history, 85 to 90% of women were not in the position of marrying a man who was better off than they were financially and being able to be supported with not just be a stay-at-home mom, but have an au pair or have a governess and have maids and servants and all of that stuff, right? That was not the majority of women. This evolved in women because most people were living at subsistence levels, right? And so that impulse to seek someone who can give you more, who brings in more than you, right? That's just written. That's just written on women's brains, right? And it doesn't matter how much they earn. And the issue too is that the higher of an earner they are, the more they can do without that man, the more they can have the maid and the au pair, right? And the child from a sperm bank and all of those things, right? All on their own and manage themselves and not have to pick up any man's dirty socks or put up with him wanting to have sex when she's not in the mood, or having to deal with hearing him complain about work, right? She doesn't have to put up with any of that, right? She can just focus on her and her baby with the income coming in, right? And so it's just you look at this and it makes perfect sense in evolutionary terms that the richer a woman is, the less likely she is to marry a man who earns less. The poorer a woman is, the more likely she is to marry a man who earns less or to partner with him, right? Because she's just looking at it in terms of what you're talking about, right? Well, it's just I just need to keep a roof over my head and keep my kids fed, right?
Yeah.
And any extra income will help with that. Any extra pair of hands around the house will help with that, right? But that woman who's a millionaire, she's not gonna fucking marry a plumber. Are you fucking kidding me? Right? No, she's not. Because she doesn't have to. Because her circumstances aren't forcing her to make that compromise. Right? And the impulse, the base impulse, as much or more, as much or more, as much or more, as much or more, right? That is written in stone on her freaking brain.
Well, then we're just gonna end up fucking ourselves.
Well,
if there can't be no, because there are
there
other
are women. There are women out there. There was like some woman. She was like too embarrassed to have their names published, right? But she was an attorney, and he was a plumber, and they got married, and they were profiled in a news article. This was years ago, right? About this new phenomenon of women marrying down, right? But she did not want her name out there.
Yeah, because people get shit for that.
Yeah.
Like, they get actual, like, women act. I will go out and say that women get shit for that.
Well,
It's just
people
like they get shit for denying victimhood. But my overall point is, like, this is also the idea that the big thing that you judge men by is providership is not actually that universal. In the past, the thing that made that the hierarchy was established through violence. The man who could protect was the one who women looked up
but
to.
money equals protection.
Yeah, well, I mean, they could seize resources through violence. So, I mean, this in of itself is sort of an evolution way.
Or if your husband has enough money, it doesn't matter whether he can protect you. He can hire people to protect you.
Well, I guess that's the Carthaginians, but regardless, like, if there is no way to get a handle on this run out of the, like, one of the big problems is that there is this severe disvaluing of the work that actually keeps people alive in our culture.
Yes.
Like, honestly, the millionaires,
and the linemen and the
they should be the millionaires. They should be the millionaires, not the courtiers who up on top who basically just they hover around the sources of monopoly money.
Yeah, like that's not going to happen, Allison.
Well, it will eventually. Either the people who are the men who are primarily responsible for constructing society will get recognition.
Well, they'll get recognition. They just won't. You're never going to get rid of the courtiers. You're never going to get rid of those, and you're never going to get rid of the difference in status between a courtier and someone like my husband, who's he's in charge of shit. Right?
Well, here's the issue. Like, the men that need to be incentivized are the ones who are in charge of shit.
Yeah, the ones who are in charge of shit used to be incentivized, and my husband is incentivized by he's incentivized by his, like, he literally tells me all the time, right? Like, what fulfills him at his job is that he's actually doing something that is meaningful for people, right? That you have an entire city that needs a sewer system that works, right? Otherwise, their homes are flooded. It's, like...
Yes, he's conscientious, and he cares about others.
He cares about others. And that he feels like he needs to build our future together, right? And, and I don't work outside the home anymore. I would if I had to, but I don't have to anymore because he makes good money.
But ultimately,
you have this situation where you have a man who's incentivized by a sense of responsibility or a sense of importance in society, even if he's just a lowly guy who does programming and scripts and stuff and automates systems and all of that, right? But he's really propelling society forward, or maintaining things for people, right? And then you also have the situation where he has somebody who's depending on him. And I think that, if he didn't have me depending on him, maybe he'd go off and write some apps or something like that, or do something ridiculous like that, right? As opposed to, but he does not get recognition for, like, He does not get outside. That's all an internalized recognition, right?
Yeah, but he also gets recognition.
My wife appreciates me, and I do, and I tell him that. And then, but the recognition in terms of his work is all internal. It's all like, well, if I wasn't here doing this, right, people would end up in a bad place, right?
Okay.
But when you have a situation where it's like, okay, so say he's an oil worker, right? And he's being told that what he does is killing the planet. It's killing the planet and destroying the climate, and it's going to cause mass extinction in like 10 years, according to AOC. What you do, right? Even though what that oil worker does keeps people alive.
Yeah, I know.
You know, like, so, you know, like you're looking at a situation where it's like, you can't, it's not just that we're not appreciating, because I think men have a certain amount of self-appreciation for the importance of their jobs when they're pruning trees or they're, you know, to keep them from falling on people's houses, and when they're doing the kind of work my husband does and all of those things, right? They have an internal sense of appreciation for the importance of their jobs, because nobody's bitching them out. Nobody's saying my husband is ruining the environment by by dealing with people's poo, right? Dealing with sewage. What I have an issue with is that a lot of the men who are doing jobs that are equally or even more vital to society's functioning, right? They're actually being vilified. They're part of like a deadly industry that's killing everything. It's destructive and all of this stuff. And it's like, and then they can't find the motivation from having a wife, and they can't find any motivation from having good pay. And it's just like, I'm just looking at it and I'm thinking, like, you can't cut off a man from every aspect of his self-worth or his sense of self-worth. You have to keep at least one thing alive. Right?
Well, yeah, and that's what our society is doing. It's the women's hypergamy is cutting off men from relationships. Massive hypergamy, not just hypergamy, but also hypergamy plus the man has to look like, I don't know, Harry Cavill. And that's mid for women now.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely ridiculous. And it's ridiculous not just because there's not a lot of Harry Cavills to go around. It's also ridiculous because alpha men who are high performing often have issues with their weight. Because of just their mentality. And so that you're not going to find a high performing man and an ideal specimen, especially since, you know, the big bucks usually come.
You're going to find a Donald Trump.
Yeah, the big bucks usually come, you know, later in life when you start to experience the spread. But here, so the hypergamy is depriving men of a partner and somebody who they're going to build a life with, which is not a sick or entitled desire. That is a normal desire. And even the UN says that loneliness and not being able to find a partner is a human rights issue. Okay? So that you deprive men of that. Then you deprive men of recognition of their overall sacrifice in society, which is what the whole Memorial Day tweet was for me, which we didn't recognize that the sacrifice of men in war is a man sacrifice. Women volunteer, men are obligated, and they don't just they don't just volunteer, they obligate other men. They're willing to force other men to sacrifice in war for their society. This is a male sacrifice, and it needs to be recognized as such. The sacrifice in men in doing all of the jobs that they do that women just do not want to do because they're not prestigious, they're disgusting, they're filthy, they're dangerous, they're uncomfortable, tedious. Men are doing these jobs. They're sacrificing to make sure that we have a comfortable society. We don't recognize that sacrifice, so that's another avenue of self-worth that's cut off. And then they're told on top of all of that they're told that their participation in society is a net negative for women, which is
Or a
hideous.
net negative for society.
Yeah, a net negative for society. The people who keep society maintained and running are a net negative for society. This is the overwhelming message that men receive. What a bunch of bullshit. So all of this contributes to not just the loneliness, but the feeling of lack of worth, which contributes to loneliness. So, and like, if we don't fix this, we're going to lose our society. Period.
Agreed.
That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
All right, let's read some more. Forget the super chat. Let's just read more, Brian.
All right. So, while the sexual revolution freed women from depending on men for income or stability, it also means they can privilege more frivolous qualities in a mate, says Rob Henderson. People used to care a bit more deeply about moral character and hard work and whether the person was an ethical and upstanding citizen, he tells me. And now you don't have to worry about that quite as much, or at all. And you can sort of focus on things that are just like more immediate, like attraction. The result? Men at the tip top of the dating pool get everything, and the men who don't have it all get nothing. But even the alphas are feeling the squeeze. Well, yeah, of course. One New York City-based psychologist, David Gordon, says many of the high-powered men he treats, including doctors, lawyers, and financiers, fret over their ability to attract a woman despite their enviable salaries or careers. It's kind of sad or tragic, but some guys will look at their bank accounts, stocks, or credit score every day as if it's some sort of measure of their value, he says. We can look at the numbers and I'm like, dude, looks pretty good to me. Still, he says, there's this anxiety around. Is this enough? Or, like, is this all that they're interested in? I think that's another, I mean, like, guys that have a lot are probably at most at risk of getting screwed over. Well, they are easily. I mean, we just talked about Russell Brand, Johnny Depp, exactly. So that's the insecurity that keeps Santiago, a 25-year-old from Albuquerque, New Mexico, up at night. The last time he dated anyone was in 2021, but that ended when he suspected she was cheating on him. Now, with the wound still raw, he fears he's not worthy of a girlfriend anymore.
Can men be any more adorable? Like, Jamal's like, this is all my fault. This dude, Santiago, is like, I'm not worthy. You were cheated on, dude. Maybe you should consider that women aren't worthy of you for a moment. Just sit with that thought.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I've been saying is that, like, well, the thing is, we have torn down men and masculinity as an idea so much that I'm not surprised by any of this. That there are men who are working really hard and they're still not sure that they're good enough. And the truth is, there are women who will look at them and find that even if they have all of their, T's crossed and their ducks in a row and their I's dotted and all of that, that there are women who are like, I don't know. I think it's there was two things I wanted to mention before. You guys were talking a lot, but one was I've been talking to like Lindsay about this, and so I don't know. I'm not saying that I'm right, and Lindsay has a slightly different perspective on it, but I was like, why is it? I was thinking about this queer theory stuff, and bear with me for a moment, okay? It seems like women are more drawn to, like identifying as like some other gender, like getting involved with the queer theory stuff. Yes, there are men that are in a part of it. Yes, there are boys that get dragged into it, but it seems like a lot of women, like maybe most of them are women. We don't know the numbers because no one looks at it. And besides, you can't define a woman anyway. So it's like an impossible conversation to even have, especially in this particular area. But I do, before all this queer theory stuff came out, I remember, years and years ago, there was this idea or notion that women tend towards bisexuality more than men, tends towards being like more, homo flexible, I guess, or hetero flexible. Like if you get a girl a few drinks in her and she'll make out with another girl on the dance floor, for example. And I was wondering, like, why might that be? Like, what? And then I got to thinking about something completely different that I related to this, which is, it's part hypergamy, but it's also, I think, women are more likely to experience FOMO because they're super indecisive. And I mean, like, fear
of missing out.
The fear of missing out, but also because they're super indecisive. Like, they have such a hard time making a decision. This is where the joke, what do you want to have for dinner comes from. And the woman's like, well, I don't know, whatever you want. And then the man picks something. She's like, I don't want that. Like, I mean, that's it. They're super indecisive, right? So if you're really indecisive, and I know that one of the reasons because there's always this feeling that if they make a decision that they're making the wrong decision or that they could have gotten something better. And there's always this regret after, this feeling that, oh, I don't think I made the right choice. And I think that it extends to the men that they are with, and it extends to their in many cases their own identity as women. Like, oh, well, I don't know, am I a woman? I mean, I like baseball, maybe I'm a man. And I think you put all that together and you get like this leaderless schizophrenic mess that just doesn't know what she wants. No one's ever told her she had to decide anything. No one's ever said that she has to take some kind of responsibility over decisions, and therefore she has to make decisions, and most of all live with the consequences, good or bad, of those decisions. And so they never make any choices. And I think I think that very rarely, I'm speaking with very, very broad brush. So, don't get upset if you're a woman that's like, well, I know what I want. Look, I get it. But I'm not talking about you. I'm just thinking about that because, in my experience, men in general, that we're very easy. Like if I'm like, oh, I'm hungry, I'm just going to eat whatever is available. And I'll just make the most of it. And even if it's not great, it doesn't matter because I'm not hungry anymore and the problem is solved. It doesn't have to be like a big old thing, right? And I think that was the first thing I wanted to say is that I think that women they really struggle with FOMO, and I think the more that there isn't someone there that's acting as a kind of compass to show them where to go, whether it's a parent or a friend or a husband or a boyfriend or whatever, the harder it is for them to make these decisions. So they don't commit to anything, or they always leave room for something so they can get out if they're starting to feel regret. The other thing too is thinking about this meme that was going around. How often do men think of the Roman Empire? And I got me thinking, because the women in these videos I've seen are very shocked that there are men thinking about the Roman Empire. And it got me thinking, I wonder how many women think of the Mongol horde.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm just saying, or something like that, I don't know, like some kind of a hard leader that is going to essentially tell them what to do and make and put them in line. Like, how many women think of being a member of a harem, of a conquered nation by some powerful warlord?
Genghis Khan.
Yeah, like Genghis Khan, exactly.
A thousand children or more.
Yeah. I'm not saying I have the answer to that, but I would like to see how that goes. If we're going to ask men about the Roman Empire, perhaps women think about whatever the opposite of that might be.
Yeah, well, the Genghis Khan thing really is the reproductive differential writ large.
Yep.
Because I think that I suppose I could ask Alexa, but I think the most babies a woman ever gave birth to was 60 something, and that included several sets of twins and triplets.
I mean, is it more men or women that support open borders and the migrant crisis, for example?
Yeah, no, it's you look at the differential in the reproductive payoff, the potential reproductive payoff, right? And you can see why men get on ships and embark for parts unknown, right? To go discover India, basically, right? The Indies, right? And oops, we bumped into a whole different continent we didn't know existed. So, and plenty of ships were sunk along the way. So you because the gamble, it really is, women prefer an index fund. Or a mutual fund. It's insured, it's stable, it's steady growth, all of that, because that's all they're capable of, at least in terms of reproduction. Slow, stable, steady growth, right? Men are more willing to do the high stakes gambling thing, right? Where you're betting your entire $1 million on one freaking hand of cards. And so you just have more reproductive losers, men who die before they can even produce children, die in their acting. And then you have it, and so like women are just, that's why women are just they cluster so much more around the average than men do, and it's like, okay, well, this is a reality. And when you look at this issue with, you know, women thinking about Genghis Khan, right? You know, there are a lot of women who would be happier being the 132nd concubine to Genghis Khan than being the first wife of a peasant.
I think
right?
so.
Because,
I think there's something to it.
Because not only is Genghis Khan going to be able to feed and clothe and shelter her at a higher standard than that peasant, but you know, he's got some pretty good genetic stock going on there.
Yeah, and her kids are gonna like be strong, and they're gonna survive, and they're gonna go on. I mean, like, that's the logic, right?
Yeah, well, and she's probably happier to be the 132nd concubine than the second wife, because the second wife's kids are probably going to get murdered. But yeah, no, it's like you when you take into that, you know, it's like the war brides thing, you know, the women
it's basically welfare, honestly.
Well, yeah, but the women who in France who slept with the Nazis and all of that, right? You know, like it really is kind of this. Even the Yanomami, right, tribe, that was like the raid was described by this Brazilian girl who was kidnapped by them and raised by them, and you know, when she was rescued later, this little white girl, she was rescued later, and I think she was white, not 100% sure, but she was like, you know, like she was not a tribes person. She was kidnapped and raised as a tribes person in this tribe, a very warlike tribe, and she described a raid, and the raid was that, you know, the women and the girls over 8 or so were all taken prisoner, and all of the boys and the younger kids, the kids who were not old enough or big enough to do any work, right, were killed, and the men were killed. And when you're looking at that kind of situation, right, you are kind of in a situation where this is my new life now, and I have to figure out some way to make it work for me and any of my future children, or the children that I have now, right? I have to figure out a way to live in this new situation that is not of my choosing. And so, I mean, I'm looking at it, and I'm looking at your Genghis Khan comment, which is basically what you were getting at, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just like, well, of course you would be willing to let the past go, right? As a woman, because as a man or an older boy, you would not be allowed to live, because you might take revenge at some point. You might be non-cooperative and take revenge. And the women are thinking that it's a totally different calculation, because they can do physical work, but they can also breed the babies of the rival tribe. right? They can also produce those babies, right? They have value in and of themselves and as a commodity. And so that would be the calculation. That's how things happened for years and years and years and years, hundreds of thousands.
And there was the
probably.
Cambria. The Cambria that went up against Rome. And there was a gigantic, well, first of all, they gave Rome a few black eyes before the final battle. And then finally Rome, the Romans, because they usually come back from behind, they finally started to get to gain a foothold against, this was a northern barbarian tribe, like going into, and what happened was in the final battle, I think it was the Cambria, they broke ranks, the men broke ranks, the women slit their throats as they ran back from the battlefield, and then slit their own throats and bashed their children's brains out. So they basically, the entire tribe, and that was like a few, I think 100,000 people,
committed suicide,
self-immolated as soon as they lost the battle to the Romans.
Yeah, but that doesn't perpetuate your genes. That doesn't.
Nope, they just self-immolated, and the question is, which tribal approach do we base our assumption about human nature on? Like, do we base it on the Cambria, which was probably, like, honestly, that tribe was probably many, many times larger than the one that you're talking about. Of course. But the issue is, right? When you look at evolutionary pressures, evolutionary psychology, evolutionary anything, right? You have to look at what survives and what doesn't, right? And well, none of the people who had that impulse, right, to commit suicide rather than be conquered, they didn't survive. Then how did it come about? That's the question. Like, how did such a much larger society end up with that ethos? But this is like, we're really in the weeds, and we should probably get back to the actual, because this is, we're not going to finish it if it's at this length.
Okay,
Brian
said it was a short article.
No, I didn't say that. Allison.
It is a short article, but not with the multiple. Not on read as much as you can.
On Rantzerker
Everybody,
time.
shut up. Let Brian read.
After being depressed for so long, I feel like it's a handicap, says Santiago, who works at a department store and has been on one date only since his breakup. It makes me feel like, she's damaged goods. And then there's the problem of not knowing. She probably is, yeah. And then there's the problem of
he's damaged goods.
He's damaged goods. Oh, okay. And then there's the problem of not knowing how to approach a woman. He suspects his coworker might have a crush on him, and yet he worries that one wrong move and he'll be labeled creepy. Well, I wonder where he gets that idea.
Yeah, HR.
Yeah, it's a common worry for men in the post #MeToo era. In a 2016 study, over 95% of respondents replied that men were much more likely to be creepy people than women.
If this applied to women, we would consider it a feminist issue.
Absolutely.
Keep going.
It would be misogyny, and we would have to make it illegal. 120-something on Reddit who wanted to ask out an employee at his local pet store groaned that men are, quote, expected to be the hunters, but are shunned for doing so in public unless it's on a stupid app, end quote. Actually, that's not necessarily true. I think you can be considered creepy on an app as well.
Yes.
It just comes down to what she thinks. It's completely what she thinks.
Yeah.
So Santiago does nothing. I'm a very insecure person. I don't want to burst anyone's bubble or break their boundaries, said the third-generation Mexican-American. Pointless detail we didn't need to know. And then there's the cost of romance. The average date in the U.S. comes with a $159 price tag, which costs more than 10 hours of work for those making a $15 hourly wage. It started getting so expensive for one bachelor, a 26-year-old banker, that he moved from Los Angeles, where rent averages around $3,000, to an apartment in Appalachia, where he and a friend now pay $500 each a month. That's fucking awesome. And it is pronounced Appalachia. This is what the Appalachians say. And this is where I am now.
Okay.
So that's how we say it. I just found it's a lot of time and frankly money, he says, about dating back west. We're risking so much for so little. But the dating scene in Appalachia, he says, is not good either, partly because he's working remotely. Everyone is double my age and lives in like the Midwest. There's just none of that cohesion or fun. The world has changed. There's more. Some men insist they haven't checked out of dating. Rather, they have virtual girlfriends who satisfy all their needs. Over the past few years, startups like Replica, Character AI, and Inflection AI have rolled out a universe of virtual companions that users can customize to meet their every desire. One alluring chatbot, Eva AI, woos customers with the promise, quote, build relationship and intimacy on your terms. And one influencer, Karen Marjorie, says she created an AI version of herself, so far with more than 18,000 boyfriends to, quote, cure loneliness.
Oh, yeah, that's gonna work.
Yeah, that sounds like if it was something that helped men to socialize so they can like go meet real people, I think that would be okay. Sort of like a training mode, you know?
Dating coach.
Yeah, like a dating coach, right. Or like a virtual like girlfriend you can practice talking to, you know? But I wouldn't. It's not a substitute. It's not a substitute.
No.
And then there are the real life sirens of OnlyFans, where its 240 million users can purchase the girlfriend experience. That's what I talked about on the show. Belle Delphine used to provide the girlfriend experience. And get a constant stream of sexts and loving messages in return for cold, hard cash. Ayala, a top OnlyFans performer who makes $100,000 on a good month, says a large part of her job is doting upon her admirers like a lover would, listening to them moan about their tough days or absent girlfriends. It turns out the thing that men just want, or when men want, is not just sex, she told the Free Press.
Oh,
they
wow.
want sex
I
with
had
a woman
no
that
idea.
likes them. Yeah, I know. What a wild idea. It's so funny that she's surprised by this. It just tells you what we tell the world, what we tell people about what men want.
So it's so funny because we as a society we've decided to delude ourselves about men's nature, look at it in terms of the worst way possible, and then we wonder, well, why aren't men able to find partners? Well, geez,
Yeah.
you've really undercut men's ability to sell themselves, guys. Like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
keep going.
All right. Only a minority of her customers are interested in just physical pleasure, she says. An overwhelming majority reach out to her for companionship or simply to feel desired by a woman. A big part of her job, she says, is tending to men who are lonely. An important component to a sexual dynamic is to feel valued, she told me. Yes, it's very simple. Ethan King, a therapist who treats 90% men in Austin, Texas, says he often has to convince clients to look beyond the girls they see in porn. People say they're totally happy with their porn girlfriend, he says. They're like, it's too risky, I'd just rather be online. But Ian Soltez, a 33-year-old overnight gas station attendant in Bridgeport, Connecticut, basically a guy that women don't want because he's not making six figures, doesn't want to look past his online friend with benefits. He says he first met his online girlfriend on Game FAQs, a video gaming website that hosts message boards, when he was 13 or 14. They play video games together and message each other all day long. He told me he sent her a hug emoji during our interview. She had been more than willing to be very close and intimate with me online, she said, so any sexual urge I've had has been handled by that. There's just one problem. They've never met in person or spoken on the phone. Soltis said she can't because she's mute. I'm pretty convinced it's a lie, he admitted. But at the same time, if I challenge her on it, what's going to happen? I'm going to find out the one person I've been close with for decades now is a guy? I don't want to say I already know that, because I don't. He stumbles to find the right words. I'd just be losing a close friend, and I don't want to risk that.
Okay, you guys,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to go.
Okay.
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 We'll finish the article in your absence, in your honor.
Alright. Oh my god, Kevin, you're not going anywhere.
She's got such a cute bark, though.
No, it's not cute. It's really annoying. And that's just her like, oh, I'm excited bark. That's not her like, zombies coming.
Because I'm just comparing it to my dog's bark, like that. He could those sonic waves could take.
Oh yeah, no.
Take a plane out of orbit.
She's awful. She's terrible. She's
Herding
a very
dogs
bad dog.
have the most ear-piercing barks.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
all right,
Okay.
I'm gonna go.
Let's finish this.
All
All
right.
right. Bye, Karen.
Bye. Okay, let's do it.
So, yeah, I'm just gonna remove Karen from the characters here. Okay. Should I finish the article? I do have a super. I'll read the super chats and chows afterwards. Okay.
Yes, let's finish it.
Okay. The U.S. marriage rate is the lowest it's been in over a century, with a quarter of 40-year-olds having never married. In 1980, only 6% of adults fell into this camp. Wow. It's a trend that continues even though research shows married people are happier.
Married women are twice as happy as unmarried women.
Mm-hmm.
And one half is unhappy. So there's being happy, there's being sort of in the mid, and then there's being unhappy and extremely unhappy. Married women are twice as likely to be extremely happy. They're half as likely to be extremely unhappy as single women.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously men are a benefit to women when they're in women's lives, but nobody wants to be the one to say that.
Yeah.
Except us.
Yeah, of course.
We're willing to say it because we're a bunch of stubborn people.
Yep, willing to say it. That's right. Americans today discourage commitment now, says Stephen Mosher, the lead demographer at the Population Research Institute. The expectation 50 years ago was that everyone would eventually get married and have children. Now that expectation is gone. Already an increasing number of women are going it alone as mothers, freezing their eggs and using sperm donors to procreate. At some point in the future, Mosher says the family, the fundamental unit of society, could completely break down. We're going to have children born from sperm donors with no fathers, eggs and embryos frozen, suspended indefinitely until someone wants to add a child to her life. This is not a happy future for most of humanity. John Berger worries about the future too, not just for men. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, actually, interesting thing. In the UK, they had to shut down a sperm donation clinic because of a lack of donors. Yeah, guys, don't donate your sperm. Why are you doing such a stupid thing?
Yeah.
Like seriously, just don't. I mean, if you're in a place where this sperm is going to go to an infertile couple, maybe. But it's not. It's going to irresponsible women. So why would you do this?
Yeah.
Like of all the things that men can do, why would you fuck over a child?
Mm-hmm.
Why would you do that? Like, seriously, don't. If you're thinking of giving your sperm to a sperm bank, don't.
Yep.
Jesus, don't be a fucking asshole. All right, and like I said, I mean, if it's for like a infertile couple, that's one thing, but it's not.
No,
that's not what it's going to.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, let's
All
keep
right.
going.
John Berger worries about the future too, not just for men, but for women who he says aren't being served by the current dating dynamic or dating apps, which about half of American never married adults say they've used at some point. Their business goal is to retain users, says Berger of apps like Tinder that want daters to keep searching for love. The day you settle down is the day their profits die. Yeah, but
get off the apps if you're a man. Just get off them. Why are you on them?
But like that's not necessarily because you're trying to make the case that this is like bad for women in particular. I mean, women don't have to be on Tinder. They could just go meet people in their community instead of trying to like, again, try to get the best man by using the world. Well, I have access to the planet, so I can definitely find a better man. That's what that's doing. And I think that in many cases, women get on to these dating apps for free or for really cheap because the men are the ones looking.
Yeah, why are you on it? Okay,
Yeah.
One, why men don't donate your sperm and don't go on apps. Period.
Mm-hmm.
Just forget it. Like apps are just they're a nightmare for men.
Yep.
Okay,
All right.
let's keep going.
Their business goal is to retain users. It says, okay, I read that bit. His advice to America's young women is to get off the apps and try mixed collar dating. Mixed collar dating. When college-educated women restrict their dating pool to college-educated men, they are effectively limiting themselves to a too small dating pool, said Berger, the author of Datanomics, How Dating Became a Lopsided Numbers Game. And if you exclude firemen, electricians, plumbers, and other folks that don't have a college degree, you may be excluding people that you would actually really click with romantically. Jamal, the security guard in Florida, says he is open to dating someone more educated and successful than he is, and he believes he could bring a lot to the table. Sure, he doesn't have $1 million, but he wants to do the little things like cook dinner for his partner and leave love notes around the house. I'm a trustworthy, loyal, and very direct. I'm also very protective, and I'm not afraid to try new things. I mean, that's fine, but I worry that most women just wouldn't be able to do it because they don't want to. They don't want to take care of men. They want to be taken care of by men in most cases. And the problem is that they've also been told they can have it all, and now they can't make both of those things work. And I know men want to take care of women, but I don't know. I mean, I hope it works out. I know that you can get in a situation where the woman is the breadwinner and it works, but I think that it's not common, and I think that it's risky. I mean, I think women will look at the men that they're providing for as a burden on them at some point, and the fact that they are men is part of the reason why. We've seen lots of stories of women who make more than their partners and then asking for a divorce. So I'm just saying, and also you have to consider that, like, maybe the woman's lifestyle expectations should be adjusted, because what if if he dates a woman who makes six figures, let's say she's like a white collar executive somewhere, college educated, and she marries this guy, the security guard, okay? What happens when she decides she wants to have kids? He can't carry them. So what is going to happen? They're going to have to adjust their lifestyle. And I think it's something that women don't get asked to do, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, adapt to your new expectations. Like, maybe you're going to have a smaller house. Maybe you're going to have to, only have one car or something. And
I just don't understand most women, because I'm sitting here and I'm happy with my, like, central heating and plumbing. Mm-hmm. And I don't have a dirt floor. Yeah. I don't know what it is about me, but my expectations are pretty low. I don't need a fuck ton. I don't understand. Why do you guys need to destroy the fucking earth for the latest goddamn fashions and flooring? Mm-hmm. Why? Why is that a need for women? Explain that to me. Explain why you want to destroy the world for your vanity. Me. Yes.
Explain to me.
Explain to me why this man who makes $61,000 American, like, holy shit, 61,000. Why that's not good enough for you? Mm-hmm. Explain that to me. What the fuck do you think you are queens of the goddamn universe? God, I'm just gonna run up against this like a brick wall. I don't like. I know Karen says, "Oh, this makes sense evolutionarily." I don't get it. I don't get the never-ending greed.
Yeah, I know. I think that you'll have to lose everything before you realize it. Okay.
I'd have to lose everything.
Not
I'd
you.
Have to lose it.
No, not you. I'm saying they, like a woman, would have to lose everything, or be in danger of losing everything before she takes a step back.
I don't understand the focus.
Counts her blessings. That's all. Count your blessings. Like, look at how good
the
we have
FOMO.
it. Yes,
yeah, like
it's
your
FOMO,
fear of losing out. Yeah, I don't like. For me, I've never really had a fear of losing out materially. What terrifies me is the fact that I'm going to have to say goodbye one day to the things that I love. That freaking terrifies me. And I have absolutely no sympathy for women who are constantly like, oh, he has to make six figures. Like, what the are you actually living a life worth you attached to anyone? Or do you just exist in this perpetual state of childish fear of commitment? Like, seriously, that's what you're worried about.
Yep.
You're worried about all of this, or even just things that are done to you, or things you might miss out on materially. You don't have a terror, like my terror is saying goodbye to the people that I love. That fucking scares the crap out of me. I don't even know how I'm going to live through that. And I know I will have to. And that bugs me. That truly bugs me. I don't give a fuck that the flooring is linoleum. I don't care that I don't have the latest drapes. And you're telling me we need to feel sympathy for these women? That they're not getting what they want out of life? Who gives a fuck what they want? Who gives a fuck that what they want is a guy who's 6 foot, and all of this other superficial list and makes 6 figures? You don't have a right to want that. I know that Karen would say, "Oh, it's evolutionary," but yeah, so is dying of smallpox. Not everything that we're evolutionarily designed to do, we do anymore. So is women dying in childbirth. So is 1 out of every 2 child dying before the age of 3. This is all stuff that, something that a science has stopped. All right. So it may be evolutionary the case that women have to have hypergamy, but maybe we need to get over it for the sake of everyone. And like I said, I don't really have sympathy for this. It's one thing for expecting your partner to be a financial rock while you're giving birth and taking care of young children. It's entirely another thing to expect your financial partner to buy a McMansion, an au pair, a maid, a gardener, a chef, and every other retarded thing in your life. And why the hell do men even want women like that? Why do you want a woman whose great fear in life is that she's not going to get the most fashionable furniture for her house, or the most fashionable pleather fucking miniskirt for her ass? Why would you want somebody these are her fears? I don't know. Okay, I'm done with my rant.
No,
Let's keep going.
All right. But still, he knows that many women toggle their apps so that men like him, those without a bachelor's degree, without a 6-figure salary, never appear on their feeds. And he says they're missing out on a lot of good guys. Yeah, because you can set your, some filter settings, I think, where you can say, they should have a job, they should be religious, they should be between this age and this age, whatever, and I think one of them is the money, like how much they make. So if women are setting that high, then it's not even showing them a lot of men. They're not showing up in their feed because they're below average or whatever. They're probably below the peak, because they figure, well, if it's like playing the lottery, if I always go for the highest, then maybe I'll just get the almost the highest, and that'll be good, instead of ending up with somebody that's mid. The problem isn't that I don't have anything to offer someone. I do, he says, but I can't even get my foot in the door, and if they don't talk to me, what can I do? Then it says correction. So I guess this is the end of the article. An earlier version of this article stated that 1/4 of adults over 40 have never been married. At present, 1/4 of 40-year-olds have never been married, compared to 6% in 1980. We regret the error. Thanks to reader David Ross, PhD, for bringing it to our attention. So yeah, that's the article. And the first comment, hoflation.
Hoflation. Oh, this is a woman. This is a woman, apparently.
Well,
Kathleen.
It says Kathleen, yeah. These bees think they deserve Prince Charming, but haven't done anything feminine to prove it. My brother is one of those top guys. Guess what he wants? A young, healthy, fit, sweet, beautiful woman who wants to love him and their many children well. He wants someone who has what he doesn't have, namely feminine, nurturing qualities. Feminism sold the lies, and we are paying the debts. So...
yeah, this is... that pretty much sums it up. And it's not just feminism sold the lies. It's that we in a lot of ways, there is something that feminism does for our society. It keeps men on the treadmill. It keeps men guilty. It keeps men working in a lot of ways. Because I actually had a tweet where I asked men, what is it? How often do you hear negative messages versus positive messages? And I think that the negative messaging towards men keeps them in a state of guilt that keeps them focused on service as a means to ameliorate that guilt, and it's kind of like a almost reflexive service, as opposed to, hey, I have the right to decide who I serve. Becomes like anytime there's need, they want to fulfill that need as a way of relieving the guilt, because guilt does that. It keeps you invested in a culture. Now the problem is that the guilt is becoming shame because we no longer recognize the service of men. So now we're just shaming them, and that's it. And men are checking out, and they're shutting down. And there's the workplace participation of men now is at the lowest it's ever been, even during the pandemic. So it recovered a bit after the pandemic. Now it's back down to where it was at the bottom of the pandemic. Think about that. And it's going down. It's going down and down. Men are no longer participating in this society. And the problem with that is that we need masculinity to do the things that are difficult or impossible for women to do. And once men are no longer doing those things, we have no future. We have broken bridges. We have collapsing bridges. We have collapsing infrastructure. We have broken pipelines. We have a world that no longer works. And that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing now. We are now embracing something that is leading to a world that no longer works. And all because we will not hold women to account. We will not talk about these things honestly. We won't make the connection between the men's loss of motivation and the loss of their work. We somehow think that men owe us endlessly everything. They know they owe us their service by virtue of what? Because they were born in our culture? Well, no. They don't owe us a damn thing. Nobody owes anybody anything, but because they were forcibly born Canadian at birth. They were forcibly assigned Canadian at birth or American at birth. No, you're not owed. And that's the funny thing, is that we still want to have this expectation that men who are born to a culture, to a nationality, are owed that nationality, their death and their service. And yet we don't want to recognize the value of nationality. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that's and it's a situation that's not feasible long term. Right? And so we got to fix this. We got to recognize how bad it will be if this isn't fixed. Okay? We can't just be like, oh yeah, poor Jamal. Yeah, he fucked himself over. How did he fuck himself over? The answer is he didn't. He didn't fuck himself over. Our society is failing at a fundamental task that all societies have, which is to make sure that men and women can come together, make families, or alternatively capture their instincts to reproduce and to construct a colony to reproduce in, capture those instincts to the furtherance of the society. And if we don't do that, our society is dead. Like it's a dead society. It's an undead society shambling forward based on the fact that other emerging economies need our money in order to function. That's it. It's like, this is the thing that we hang our hat on now. We're basically a zombie culture. Welcome to the zombie hordes. All right. It all comes together after like 7 years, Brian, doesn't it?
We finally made it. It's a loop.
It's a loop. Okay, all right. So once again, I want to remind everyone that we will soon be opening our monthly fundraiser at feedthebadger.com/support. If you want to help out to make sure we can keep this content coming, go there and do that. I think people have been sort of noticing that bigger channels are mentioning us, that we've been talking about this stuff for 10 years.
Yep.
Yeah, we've been talking about a lot of stuff, a lot of the intricate issues that related to the alienation of men, that other people are starting to actually recognize now. And it's only going to get worse, friends, until we address these problems and ask, or at least demand, maybe is a better word, women to take responsibility for their part in all of this.
Yeah.
Okay. and it's just going to get worse until we do. And this is the eye of the needle. You got to be prepared to hold women accountable. And the honest to God truth is I don't know why that is such a horrible thing. Like, half the human race has responsibility to society? Oh my God, good gravy, that's misogyny. No, it's not. Because our responsibilities are a huge part of ourselves. And without them, we don't have a self. And there is something that women have sacrificed to maintain the guilt necessary to keep men on the grindstone. And that is a recognition of self. We got to get back to that. Women need to get back to that. Women need to stop being selfish about how they're served and start getting selfish about how they see themselves in the greater world and how people reflect their actions and their choices and the recognition of the negatives of women's actions and choices. That's what you build a sense of self from. Like, what is an RPG without the negative choice, storyline or
moral
choice
relativist
tree?
Bullshit.
Yeah, it's not fun.
No.
You gotta have the negative consequences, or the positive consequences are meaningless. You gotta have the stakes, or there's no climax. And that's basically where women are. They have no stakes to their life. They have no stakes to their choices. Therefore, their selves are underdeveloped. And they seem to be, I was about to say they seem to be fine with that, but they're not, because they've never been more miserable. And what they keep doing is keep minimizing the stakes more and more and more. Well, maybe what you need to do is embrace the stakes to understand the meaning of your life. Okay.
All right.
Another rant. I apologize. Feedthebadger.com/support to support the show so we can keep bringing you this content in the way that and our particular form of analysis, which is completely unique and apparently ahead of the curve. And if you would like to send us a message, you give us a tip because you enjoy the show, you enjoy what we talk about, you want to give us a suggestion for a new show, you have a comment on any of the content in the show, feedthebadger.com/justthetip. That's feedthebadger.com/justthetip. Back to you, Brian.
All right, well, I got to read the super chats and super chows. So I'm going to start with the super chows because I always give the super chows priority. So I got a super chow from Plain Dane for $10. Thank you, Plain Dane. And he says, there's no free ride when it comes to endocrine manipulation. I don't think giving women a testosterone patch is a good idea. It can affect their reproductive system, and from the research I've seen, it can also affect sexual orientation in preborn children who are exposed to too much of the opposite gendered hormone. Male sperm cells exposed to too much estrogen are more likely to be gay or bisexual, and female sperm cells exposed to too much testosterone are more likely to be lesbians or bisexual. I don't think we need any more lesbians. Women need to stop eating agrochem laced food, seed oils, and reduce plastic intakes. Stop taking birth control drugs for so long, and they need to exercise more. Diet and lifestyle needs to change. I say as a guy that experiments with various performance enhancing compounds. All right, thank you for that. I think a little bit of progesterone is good for women. This is what Karen was talking about, but I think a lifestyle change is going to have like a bigger and more long-lasting effect. So yeah, avoid seed oils, carbs, processed foods, etc. Plain Dane then gives us $5 and says, hot take, but I think women generally aren't as loyal to the tribe as men due to the fact that they have to adapt to their new environment after being raided and conquered. This explains why women are better at learning languages and why they're more interested in learning new languages. There's a YouTuber called Xiaoman New York City, an NYC, that's a polyglot, can learn a language very quickly and easily. He had his brain scanned and the doctor said that he had more of a feminine brain structure. This reminded me of that guy, that gay autistic polyglot that can learn an entire language in a month. He learned Icelandic in like a month. Icelandic is an extremely difficult language to learn. I mean, I've heard Bjork speak English and I don't know what she's saying. I've read a New Yorker article that covers polyglots and sexuality, and apparently gays are more likely to be polyglots and linguists. I wonder if this is where some hatred for gay men comes from. I'd like to hear Allison's, Karen's, and Hannah's take on this. Well, Hannah and Karen are not here, but Allison, do you want to say anything about that?
Well, I think that they found that there's there are some more feminine gays, and then more masculine gays. So I'm not sure it's quite as simple as that. I think that, and also they did find that bisexuality in men corresponds with hypermasculinity for whatever reason, and bisexuality in women corresponds with masculinity, not lesbianism. But then I imagine that the lesbian separatists are probably throwing that off. Okay.
Yeah. And then we got one more from the same
Plain
guy.
Dane.
Yeah, Plain Dane again. So thank you. And he says, $5. Allison, you clearly have a more masculine brain structure. That's why you think the way you do. That's why you're also sexually attracted to women, and probably why you're autistic. You were most likely exposed to a lot more male hormones when you were in utero or something like that.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. It's sort of unfortunate because it feels like this is sort of
women really well.
Well, I honestly I don't. I think I do. It's just that I don't know. It's I guess it's unfortunate that it takes this kind of a mentality to sort of understand what's going on.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not unfortunate. Maybe that's my niche. All right.
Well, that's it for the Super Childs, and I got a super chat from Albernated Retro for $2 Canadian, and he says, Karen, it kind of sounds like the film The Searchers. Well, Karen is gone. I'm sorry, she didn't see that, but she might see it after. Maybe she'll go to the video and see it come up. So, thank you for the super chat and for the Super Chows. All right, are we done, or was there something else?
We're good.
All right.
Once again, support the show at feedthebadger.com/support. Send us a tip at feedthebadger.com/justatip. And take it off, Brian.
All right. Well, if you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, hit the bell for notifications. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think about what we talked about. Follow us on our other social medias like Twitter. It's at Badger. It's a Honey Badger Bite. And also Badger Arcade. Follow the other channels like the main channel, Honey Badger Radio. I think that when Shu and who's the other guy that mentioned us, Better Bachelor, they might have like given a link to the main channel. So if you are here from the main channel, I want you to know that this is where we put most of the content, because the main channel's been getting YouTubed for like a few years now. And also check out the gaming channel if you like. It's at Honey Badger Arcade. So thank you guys so much for coming on today's episode of the Rantzerker, and we'll talk to you all in the next video.
Men's right activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.